Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. As the ruling party BJP in India is talking about ruling India for the next 40 years, and various opposition led state governments have recently got converted to BJP governments due to defection of MLAs, what does the main opposition party Congress think about the future and what are their plans of making a difference in India? To talk on all these, we have with us today from the Congress Party Mr. Mathew Anthony. Mr. Mathew Anthony needs no introduction, but I'll still formally introduce him. He's the president of AIPC Maharashtra, and in his own right, he's an eminent lawyer and advocate in the Mumbai High Court.
The tolerance limit of this country to take criticism has come down to such a low. Whereas for Congress, it is, governing this country comes as a first priority because it's the people of India who's our first priority. We didn't make much of a marketing hue about it. We just thought, that it is our responsibility to do this for the citizens. That's the India which Congress built, India which is diverse. I will stay away from the word Achedan because, Achedan has become almost like a very destructive word, for the people of India. There is a fashionable beauty for the normalcy which you had during the Congress tenure.
So, Mathew, thanks very much for joining the show. A great pleasure to have you here, and a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Jaya, for taking me in for this lovely small interaction, the boutique interaction within the medias, I would rather say.
Yes,
or the designer one. Let's see how it goes and unfold as we progress on this one.
So, wonderful.
All up to you.
What I'll do is I'll talk a little bit on Indian politics, but I'll also ask a few questions on Congress, which many people have and they are not finding answers to, and it is leaving many people confused because they are not getting answers on many things that they want to ask Congress and they want to hear their voice on. So I'll let you talk uninterrupted so that all your thoughts can come out very clearly to everyone.
Sure, I will do my best to do justice to both my mind, my conscience, as well as to the country, the political parties, and to you, as well as to the audience, to have as much clarity as possible in the thought process which comes across. Thank you.
Wonderful. I know you'll do a good job of that. My first question is, many people think that the Congress party at the moment is, not at the moment, for the past few years, have been playing on BJP's playground. That is, BJP is good at talking about politics of election, politics of Hindu-Muslim, whereas they are not good at bringing down poverty, bringing down hunger, bringing down unemployment, bringing up democracy index, bringing up the value of India's passport, and a lot of things. But Congress party is entangled on talking of this on topics that are strengths of BJP instead of talking on the topics that actually they had brought a phenomenal development in India. So how do you break out of this and talk on topics that have lots of conversations on topics that matter to common people and in which you have actually brought in a lot of improvements, which are your strengths?
I will try to answer this in parts rather than in a whole particular way of answering it in one single sentence. First, I refuse to accept that the Congress party is not taking up issues of the people. If you really see up, Rahul Gandhi himself has been leading the tirade against all the issues from the time of GST implementation, from the time of note ban, from the time of the COVID times. Every time he has fought the battle. The only problem which we face is, that we have been left to fight this battle, which is a battle of this country alone, rather than joining hands with us and giving strength to the voice which we are leading from the front for the people of this country. A large part of the people are falling for the propaganda that there is no opposition. Whereas if you really look at it, the educated people, the people who can relate, who can put logic, reason into their mind, if you really look into it, from the time the monetary ban was imposed, the note ban was imposed, from the time the GST was imposed, from the time the COVID issues were there, the price rises were there. Every time Rahul Gandhi has put up his foot forward, the Chinese intrusion. And these are the things, if you really look at it, The real depression of this economy started hitting us from the time of the note ban.
Sure. I understand you have been talking about this, but it has not been creating optics, that it has not been creating a kind of capturing of mind that the India against corruption or a Smriti Irani sitting with a cylinder had done at that time. You are perhaps doing the right things, but politics is all about optics, and that kind of a vision is not being seen by so many people, that there's an aggression in it, there is a very continuous fight in it, that kind of thing. It's not capturing people's minds.
The aggression which is mentioning here, we have fallen for the chest thumping aggression which we are seeing in the country for the last few years now, or it started from way back in 2012 onwards. There was nothing a Gujarat chief minister has to do in Bombay when the Bombay bomb blast happened. But still, they came for a political mileage. There was nothing which a lot of chief ministers has to do in Delhi when the India Against Corruption was handled by Anna Hazare. So there was so much of money pumped into the whole political campaigning by the BJP in an organized manner from that time onwards.
I agree, but it's
will your logical mind agree to say that all these political rallies and all these political branding which is coming against the Congress party is coming free of cost, and this is natural happenings within the political system? It is all planted. It is all planted with heavy investments, with blackmailing, with extortion requirements, or with the cases coming onto you. So there is the system in which the politics is working in this country. Especially if you see yesterday's event, filmmaker Das was arrested for what? He just put a photograph. The tolerance limit of this country to take criticism has come down to such a low. So when fear is inflicted on the people, people have no choice, either the choice of singing praise to the ruler or to keep quiet and to raise things against the opposition. Whereas if you really look at it in politics, opposition always had the advantage of the wind. If you're playing tennis, and it was a Wimbledon season, and you being in UK, the wind always plays an advantage to make a service an ace. So opposition always used to have that advantage of that wind, which unfortunately is not there with us, from 2014 onwards.
Now, it's not going to go away soon. The chest thumping that you're talking about, that has started happening, or the discourses that are being driven by BJP, they're not going to, and also TV channels, because it is working in their favor to get their TRPs up, because instead of talking of issues, they're getting people to do a cockfight. But in that environment, what is your way forward to think differently about how you are going to change it and bring that conversation back to more and more people?
Okay. When Hitler, Mussolini, and all such dictators, Gaddafi, Saddam, all of them were oppressing the rulers, oppressing rulers, and they were oppressing their subjects in their own countries. Even Ferdinand Marcos of Philippines was like that, elected, and then he continued as a dictator. Now, when everybody thought that there is no hope left for all these countries, that's where their fall happened. So there is
coincidence. For Hitler, it happened by coincidence.
I'm not saying it as a coincidence. I'm saying there is a large amount of dissent within the people, which is not coming out right now for the simple reason that all of them live under fear. The reason is because today, Jaya, you and me are sitting here. We have families to maintain. We have people. We have relatives. We have things. So there is a limit to which we will expose ourselves or take an exposure. But if you really ask the questions to all of them individually in private, none of them will say yes. We are living in a safe environment. None of them. If you ask them, whether they want to send their girl children outside after 8 p.m., they will not. Even in major cities. So people are living in a fear. The moment the wind harnesses, I repeat the word wind. The moment the wind harnesses.
Are you waiting for that wind to harness?
Or politics is all about that patient waiting for the right opportunity to strike. And we are here to lead. Congress party has no qualms to say that we are here to lead the people's journey for a fair government in this place. And we are not claiming that no government is a perfect government. Even if tomorrow our government comes, we governed this country for long. There were imperfections, there were failures,
Fair
and
enough.
we have to have that courage to have that accountability for the failures. But there were many successes also. So that's a way we have to see things, and we just cannot see things in such a way, and we cannot simply be evasive and snub the fear of the people, the kind of difficulties in which the people are living in right now, the price rises, the insecurity, the intolerance levels, everything is against. So
So
it's
now
only a
that
matter of
you've
time.
seen the pattern for the last 8 years, that it has just gone, it has gone more smug about creating that environment of fear and intimidation. Are we waiting for a catastrophe to happen before people realize, or are we thinking of creating a movement like they did in 2014 for unfounded reasons, but they did manage to capture people's mind, not because they were suffering, but because they managed to create a perception that there is money in Swiss bank that you are not getting, for which you are paying more, and they had managed to do that successfully. Are you planning to do something yourself?
I wish the money was back here so that we could have saved at least some fiscal deficit. The court
I
has
do,
clearly
but you,
the court
but
is
nobody's
clearly told
talking about that anymore.
the court has clearly told that there was no scam in 2G.
I
It
know.
was the largest, which they claim to have. And Vinod Roy, who scripted that story for BJP,
He
is
apologized.
I'm sorry. Vinod Roy, who scripted that story, is scot-free. So Congress morality doesn't allow us to do such kind of things. Do you think that this government is not corrupt? The government has sold out its soul to Adani. If you really look at, the whole agreement with Australia was made to benefit Adani for the coal imports, and now the government has given a deal to import coal to Adani, and all the companies have to buy coal from Adani. It's a clear-cut corruption which is officially documented
So where
by
does
the government for the BJP,
where is the
for the
discourse
certain
for
people.
that? Who is going to bring that out?
We
Other
have brought it
opposition, who
out.
is going to bring that discourse out and talk to people more about it?
Congress party has brought it out. Congress party has brought it out.
How many people know about it? I mean, you might have done all the right things, but how many people actually know about it?
How do you measure that? How many people know about this? For my curiosity, I'm just asking.
With my perhaps social neighbors who talk about a lot of things, but they have no idea about this.
Is it about they have no idea, or is it about they don't want to speak about
it? They also don't want to. Many of them know about it and don't want to speak about it.
There you get the answer.
But what can be done about it?
So someday they will speak. I'll tell you when. Now, when a tomato hits 100 rupees a kilo, okay, and when your petrol hits 120 rupees a liter or 110 rupees a liter, and when your electricity charges goes up, when your gas charges goes up,
it has already gone up.
Yeah, it is going up consistently. It will reach a point where even the urban rich will also start getting affected with their pinch onto their pockets. The poor man always needs a leader because he is worried about his day-to-day life, and we can't blame them. The reason is because the poor people is worried about meeting their own day-to-day life and its difficulties, where they cannot spend time on politics. Whereas the movement will start when people who are really not that worried about the day-to-day started getting pinched on the day-to-day. And then that's where, after some point of time, they will start talking about, even if to their dislike, the fear will go at some point of time. Right now, the society is gripped in fear because you don't know who's going to get arrested tomorrow. There will be a time when the fear will go out. You see Sri Lanka, nobody is fearful anymore. Why? Because they have nothing to lose. Sri Lanka in hospitals, today I received a call for medicines for just headaches. People have tons of money there, but they don't have medicines there. How will they buy? So there's a time when India will also see the fear of the people to speak against this government will go off, and that's not far away. It's not that many people are not aware of what we are speaking. It's about that they have chosen not to speak about this because of the fear. Our duty is to get the people fearless a little bit more.
That's true. Now, think about it this way. I mean, for the past few years, now BJP is talking about ruling India for the next 40 years. And to a large extent, the past few events look actually corroborated that they have been able to change state government, opposition state governments into BJP governments through defection of MLAs. Now, in this environment, do you think it is possible for any opposition party to survive for a long time, or are we just staring down a one-party rule and opposition Mukt Bharat rule very soon?
Did you ever expected a Congress government in 2004?
That was a different politics. That I would not compare that environment with today's environment.
I completely agree. I completely agree that that was a different politics.
That was a time when Atal Bihari Vajpayee resigned because of lack of one vote. That used to be the environment. Today it
India
is
was shining.
Yeah, India was shining fine. People could criticize government, opposition could criticize government, they could make fun of the government. That was the environment then. Today it is not like that.
Today it's fear.
And also a discourse which is driven around a particular direction.
See, discourses will stay till the time your own son, your own mother, your own father, your own wife ask difficult questions to each other, not only to one of the family. Ask questions, difficult questions to each other. What are we here for? What are we living for? And that question is already there in the households of this country with the price rise and with the insecurities, with the intolerance, with the religious divides. So 40 years and all is a natural ambition like that of a body corporate. But in politics, 1 week itself is a good long time. So you can't, nobody expected this kind of a single majority for BJP in 2014 and neither in 2019 also. So that was a good turnout for BJP. And so things which is beyond expectations can happen. And that's the same way in which, so expectations are not always one side.
Do you agree that the fabric of Indian politics is changing? It's very different than before, than let's say pre-2014, where oppositions could come out as, as actively as it is today?
See, the one reason why opposition unity is becoming a challenge in itself is regional parties, which is a large part of the opposition along with the Congress party. Regional parties have their regional turf to be protected, which is largely the state administration to a large extent. So for them, the first priority is the state governance. The second is a negotiating tool, which is the MPs, which comes into the Lok Sabha. Whereas for Congress, it is, governing this country comes as a first priority because it's the people of India who's our first priority and which has always been our first priority. So that's where, and then any strengthening of the Congress party in itself is a challenge for the regional parties because they all have come on the side of the Congress.
Yeah, to some extent, yes.
Yeah, to a large extent. I will qualify the sum to a large.
Yeah, Trinamool Congress or NCP or all of them have actually broken up Congress.
There are political struggles of survival, their own sustenance of their local leadership, their cadre there in the states. So these are practical operational challenges for the opposition unity which comes into the play. The larger play is that Congress is still the national party. Now BJP is a national party, which I would not have called them before 2014 to a large extent. But now, we should, when it is due, we should say that it is due. At the same time, there is nothing which is that certain for BJP to rule for eternity. The kind of environment in which we are in, if the mind which are right now oppressed due to the fear factor of how this government will target them is being taken out, by some form of a political messaging, and as well as the anti-incumbency comes together, BJP, the way in which it has come to power, the same way or in the same pace it can go out of power. So it can be thrown out of power also. So that's the way we should look at it.
Okay, you look at it that way, fine. I'll come to another issue, which is regarding fake news. Now, recently you have taken a very strict action against a doctored video that was doing rounds about Rahul Gandhi regarding Udaipur. And actually it worked because a lot of people, somebody was arrested, some other people actually stopped talking about it, etc. But I'll tell you something. The video of Alu and Sona has been doing the rounds for the last 8 years, which is a completely doctored video. It is still being circulated, people still believe in it. And along with it, loads of other videos like that. Why did you let it happen for the last 8 years and create a wrong impression about your party? Because today you cannot do a doctored video about Modi or Amit Shah and indiscriminately circulate it and get away with it. So you are not playing on level playing grounds anymore. Why did you take action before? That's my question.
I will quote Pawan Khera here. Recently in an interview he has spoken there, that the biggest mistake which the Congress governance did was not to take action against Modi and Shah when it was really required. We were politically magnanimous at that point of time, showing it as a political opponent. We did a lot of a matured behavior at that point of time, as we saw politics as politics. We never took it as a vendetta. We never took it as a grave offense to be kind of taken people into a custody or things like that. But offense were offense, violations of law were violations of law. But we ended it there. We never took the way in which the personal vendetta kind of a behavior.
It's not personal, it was criminal, isn't it? So you should have taken actions against it because.
Let me come to that point. So the whole IT fake news system started with the BJP way back in 2012 onwards. When they started preparing for the 2014 run, I would rather go a little beyond that. They started investing in hitting the brand Rahul with a lot of names from the very beginning of his political career. But Congress party, being in power and being a follower of the Gandhian philosophy, were tolerant, we're not taking it too personally. We were looking at it as a political sarcasm to a large extent. However, the magnanimity, the patience, the tolerance, and the maturity of the Congress party was taken for granted, and it has started hitting us politically also, because a large number, we painfully realized that a large number of people are believing these fake videos which have been kind of getting transmitted all through the social media channels. That's where we decided, it's time to take a call. Enough is enough, and we will take the course of legal actions. And now we are categorically following up on anything and everything which is fake in its nature, and taking people to task whenever, what is provided by the law, whenever we see such things happening.
So are you taking a different approach right now, right here, to actually go after each and every fake news that are, massively propagated and which are actually harming you? Are you going to do it a little differently now?
Yes, I would firmly say yes to that, because that's what we should be doing now.
Fair enough. I want to ask you something which is very close to my heart, and which actually many people around me have also asked me when I have sort of sometimes talked in favor of you. What does the Congress party stand for? What is it? What are the few things that you can you tell us through this video that you stand for, which would excite people to vote for you, to fight for you, to rally around you? Something like an Achhe Din kind of thing that was there, which was a jumla, but can you really say something sincere that Congress party stands for, which should excite people?
Sure. Let me ask you a few questions in return to that one, so that it doesn't become boring, rather than.
Anyway.
Okay. Where do you grow up?
Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Kolkata, you had to say Kolkata,
Kolkata.
yeah.
Who are your neighbors?
My neighbors were, mostly Bengalis, but they were from other states as well, from India.
Okay.
And there was a thriving Muslim population, a little bit, a few neighborhoods down. And that is where I grew up.
Okay. How do you celebrate your festivals?
Celebrating festivals, you know how it happens in Calcutta. It's with a huge amount of fanfare. Everybody comes in. Everybody wears.
You celebrate only your festivals, or you participated, in others' festivals as well?
We never made a distinction. So Christmas or in Eid, I mean, there used to be people who used to come to our house and give us their food, the food that they cooked in their house, and we used to wait for it. And we have, I mean, especially in Kolkata, that is the culture. In when I was working in my office, there used to be our bosses who had drivers who would come during Eid with their foods, and we would all of us all of us colleagues would be waiting for it, and we would eat it. So that is how we celebrated. That's the culture.
And how was your schooling?
Schooling was, it was mostly Bengali populations, and it was an English medium school.
Yeah. So, and what was taught there?
Taught there, you understand, Bengalis, they are always about Tagore, and not just Tagore, about Ramohan Roy, Tagore, Vidyasagar, about Shukumar Roy, Satyajit Ray, who are always basically talking about not just harmony. They actually wrote literature at that time, which are today might be considered as blasphemous, because they could make fun of religion, could make fun of lots of people. And that was celebrated in Bengal.
Can you do all those things today?
We can't. We can't.
That's the India which Congress built.
I agree fully with you.
Okay, so that's the India which Congress built. India which is diverse, of people who had very, very, very different background, ethnic, ethical, traditional, and in many, many ways their value systems were different. But then we all came together. We all had the pride to stand together, a flag which collectively made us hold to that flag and say that India is my country, all Indians are my brothers and sisters. And that's what the Congress built. And that's my dream.
Fair enough, fair enough.
And can we say that now? I don't think so. I can say that. I have the hope. And that's a hope in which I stay active in politics. And we learned from the Congress party about the magnanimity and the vision and the courage of the Congress leadership to have had 365 people from that diverse background who formed the Constituent Assembly to write down the constitution in which we believe in right now. There were people who disagreed very widely, very vastly, but still every view was accommodated, every view was debated, every view was debated, argued thoroughly, and then most of it found its space in our constitution. So that's the India which I believe in. If I don't have that India, then for me India is some other thing. So my India is the India which is based out of this constitution, which has got diverse amount of views, which may differ to each other, but we still stand united as one single flag, under one single flag. That's where I am. And that's what Congress Party will deliver for India, as long as we know we serve this country as Congress Party.
Wonderful answer. Thanks very much for it. I'll come, if you can quickly tell me what is AIPC and how was it formed? Does any other party have it, or is it just Congress Party who has it? And what is the kind of success you have got so far?
AIPC is something unique to Congress Party. Though Congress Party had a lot of professionals from its very beginning, starting from Mahatma Gandhi, who's a lawyer, to Jawaharlal Nehru, to a lot of people till now. But AIPC, the whole credit goes to the then Congress President Rahul Gandhi, along with our current chairman, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. It was their idea was to find a platform where we can get educated people who really don't want to get into the active politics, but still would like to kind of contribute towards nation building by imparting a lot of their experience, which they have acquired with their professional expertise, and as well for a political platform for the professionals to be their voice when it is really required. So this was a mutually satisfying platform. It has found its initial space. It's a niche space. It is finding its path, and we have had our reasonable amount of success in the last 5 years of existence. It is unique with the Congress Party as a political department of a political party. There are cells of there are industrial cells. There are different cells for other parties, but there is nothing like a professionals division for any political party in this country at this point in time.
So have you been able to garner more people, more professionals after you started it who?
Of course, yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So your numbers increased, this particular wing of your party?
Yeah, we are steadily increasing. And now AIPC is not about turning the day into night or night into day overnight.
Yes.
It is about a movement in progress. It is about building a alternative political supporting group which identifies themselves with your basic political ideology, and then you nurture this. It's not a mass movement at this point of time. It might take a mass shape the moment we start representing, or the moment we as an organization take a political call that we should be actively representing the political voices with the industry representations and other aspects of the professional negotiations. Then it will take a mass shape. At this point of time, we are not into that space of mass negotiations or mass representations for the professional bodies. So we will continue to nurture it as a niche group of influencers who will work alongside the party, who will contribute towards the party largely, and maybe a few from this, will come up as office bearers of the principal party also. So that's the way we have the outlook at this point in time.
So since you are a professionals organization part of the Congress Party, I would like to ask you this. What are your thoughts about reducing unemployment in India? If you were to come in power, what would you do?
So, sorry for the in-between coughs because of the climate.
That's okay.
Reducing unemployment is about a free economy, first of all. You need to create a lot of employment opportunities, and how employment opportunities will be created is you should have an economy which has got a purchasing power. So when there is inflation, when there is lack of employment, the purchasing power or the demand will actually go down. So in order to kind of get the economy moving, what we need to do is we need to create a free flow of cash where the demand goes up, the production goes up, and so the need for employment also goes up. Second is also about skill enhancement. We need to have the MSME sector growing in a steadfast manner, and if MSME has to grow, they need to have capital, working capital availability made to them easily. Right now, the banks will only lend to the rich people. If a small scale MSME business operator has to go, apart from all these schemes in paper, without collaterals, they will not get a single rupee of loan. Only the large borrowers will get large money, and they will flick it out, and then we all will have to bear the cost. If employment has to be generated, it is the MSME sector which creates large amount of informal and organized employment.
So are you saying it's the banking system that is going to drive this?
You have to make money available for small businesses to do business. And how will the money come into the system? If you allow the private lenders, they work on a 48% annual interest rate, and no business cannot turn profits. It's only a matter of time that they will sink. Whereas the bank makes credit available, a lot of these MSME businesses will flourish. And when MSMEs flourish, employments will, if one MSME is there, one MSME will indirectly can give employment of up to 25 to 30 people.
Do you
And
have the
MSMEs are the backbone. 50% of India's economy is driven by MSMEs.
True, but there are claims by the BJP that actually the MSMEs have come up a lot during the BJP's time. Do you have numbers exactly? How much is that claim true? What was the number of MSMEs before and what happened afterwards?
I have stopped reading the numbers of BJP government because it has nothing to do with reality. I can give you numbers, but the numbers which the BJP government is bringing out, and then you go to the same places, and then you take a physical walk to the industrial parks, industrial corridors, and and you talk to the owners, and you relate it. At least you take a sample size of 100 and you do a correlation. It is never matching with the numbers. So BJP comes out with numbers. Like Modi said in 2019, he made a speech, that the basic amenities of GST is not even, the basic commodities are not put into the GST. Now, where is its speech?
Yeah, they changed it yesterday.
Where is its speech? A small example. The restaurant industry was punished by the Consumer Affairs Department, Consumer Appellate Body, a week back for charging service charges. And they came out with a dictate saying that the restaurant should not be charging service charges, and then they will be punished and they'll be booked. It all started with a small service charge issue in the train for a coffee. For a 20 rupees coffee, a 50 rupees service charge, so 70 rupees was charged. And now yesterday, the railway body decided that they will not charge service charge for the coffee, but they will charge service charge of 50 rupees for all other ones. But whereas the restaurants who were charging service charges now have been deprived of that also. So
Yeah.
unless if you want to create employment, apart from the large ITS employment, which is coming to a limited number of minority numbers of people, the large chunk of millions, almost like 900 million people are unemployed in this country at this point of time, with the last records. If they have to be employed, the MSME sector has to flourish. And if MSME sector has to flourish, they need to have free flow of capital coming into them without much of a collaterals. Let the bank exercise the caution, let the bank exercises the diligence, but there should be free flow of money coming to the small scale sectors. That's where the employment will actually really go up. And the economy also will go up. See, Jay, if the economy goes up, how? If I keep two people at home and if I keep buying things, then there is money which is going back from me to the purchase and to the people who are working with us. Then it goes back into the system. Unless and until it doesn't rotate. And if I don't have anything to save and if I don't have anything to spend more than what I should be, apart from merely surviving, then the economy will not. The economy will shrink. Or
what are your thoughts about, just quickly, what are your thoughts about the claims that the foreign direct investment in India is at its highest at the moment, which is supposed to be generating employment? It's supposed to create development.
If you really look at it, in the last 2 months' time, and for the last 6 months' time, the foreign capital has been going out of this market. It was, and that is not because of anything significant by the government, because the foreign money which needs to generate a certain amount of returns, just because the sheer size of the country, there's a minimum growth which will come. And the money could generate that kind of returns. Now, with the US Fed increasing the domestic rates in the US, the money started going back.
That's true.
Yeah, there were big checks written for the startups and all other investments. You can see a Baiju struggling for closing his 800 million fund, which would not have been the case almost a year back.
Yeah, so that is what I'm saying, that this is a new phenomenon, that US has increased its interest rates, and hence there's a flight of money from India, and perhaps that's one of the reasons rupee has also depreciated. But before that, also the foreign direct investment was claimed to be one of the highest in India. But why was it? Do you agree, first of all, with that? And secondly, why was it then not generating the employments and developments that FDI is supposed to generate?
Okay. So working as a lawyer and working closely with a lot of the PE and private equity players, as well as the fund houses and financial institutions, there was a large amount of capital inflow into the country. That's not because of anything which is of the government one, because the Chinese market was seeing an exit of foreign capital for the last few years consistently because of the political uncertainties there. And after China, Latin America, Africa, and India were the other growing markets. And Latin America has its own political uncertainty, so a lot of money was not going that side. Africa also, in the COVID, the economy didn't grow in that size and scale. So the only economy which was growing was India, and that's why we attracted capital. But a large amount of this capital came for these startups. If you really look into it, it is all for capital expansion now. And all these capital expansions, the IoT companies, I would rather say the online companies are the Internet of the Things companies. They have got a lot of this capital and they have created employment. It's not that they have not created employment. But those employments are like
niche. You're saying it's a niche market.
It's a gig economy. The gig economy employment are not permanent in nature. It is all temporary. It's all hire and fire employment. It's like the unorganized sector employment. So you cannot have the strength of the employment index going up because you can't predict, the longevity of those employments. You can see a lot of people just firing 25,000 people in a month, or 2,500 people, downsizing happens. So you see all these things happen. So a large amount of capital has come into this valuation games, which has not benefited the armed janta actually. It has helped a few. So it is going well with the capitalist favoring financial policies of this government, not the social welfare economics of the Congress government, where a large part of this money would have widely spread in terms of its canvas, rather than concentration. The money has got concentrated in this economy right now in few hands.
Okay. Last question. If you were to come to power, let's say tomorrow, how do you see India can grow, change, become different, or go in a good direction in 5 years' time? What is your vision of India that it can achieve?
The first and the foremost and the decisive action will be, the visible, tangible action will be to have the preamble of the Constitution to be read in all the institutions, especially the education institutions to start with, the police stations to start with. And it'll be, that is one thing which everybody will have to understand and undergo, because that's a relearning right now which we'll have to incorporate into the system. That is the reassurance of the faith in the Constitution. That's where the beginning will start. Second is all about loosening up the economy for bringing in more capital, widespread capital to a larger base, and then creating employment opportunities and stability to the markets, stability to the environments, farmers' pricing. That's where, because a large part of India is still dependent on the farmers and the agricultural economy. So we will have to now see the agricultural economy being supported with far more support prices, crop protections, where the monsoons really are playing havoc. Every time it's becoming destructive more than the previous years. So we'll have to see something of that sort.
So you would reinforce support prices, the minimum support prices that all this was about. Okay.
And then some sort of a stability and a formalization of the gig economy, so that a large number of employment can be created in that space. And a lot of focus on the environmental side of it, because a lot of the destruction, natural calamities which is happening in this country is due to the mindless environmental destruction which is happening. And this is where we will get started. And once these basic things are addressed, then we have to bring back the tolerance towards criticism, which is right now very light, which is now very tight. There is no tolerance actually. And that's what brings faith in the country for other people to come. And that's what will make us even more attractive for people to come and invest. And that's where we will take it forward. The confidence level of the country has to go up. People will have to find peace within themselves that my country is safe to be in. We saw the largest amount of people leaving this country and taking up foreign citizenship. That is something painful to see. So these are the things which we should be doing. First is reinforcing the faith and the confidence. Second is economy and job creation. Third is bringing in control to the pricing factor. That is, by helping the farmers get, produce in a good manner, and giving them the required economic and financial infrastructure. And that's how we'll tackle things.
And to sum it up, what kind of Achhe Din can people really think about if they were to vote Congress?
See, we never paid respect for the lights which came on automatically when we switch on the lights. When water came in without any disturbances, when the taps were putting on, we never paid any respect. We took everything for granted. In the last 65 years of the country, or 75 years of the country's independence, a large part of it, Congress tried to make it look effortless for the citizens. Everything is coming naturally to them, everything is coming. But we didn't make much of a marketing hue about it. We just thought that it is our responsibility to do this for the citizens. It is not about something to market about, but to improve the standard of life of the people is a responsibility or a primary responsibility of any elected government.
Very good point. A very good point indeed.
That's what we did. And people really now, when people question us on what you did, this is what we've done. There is a fashionable beauty for the normalcy which you had during the Congress tenure. When you are losing that normalcy, when you have fear all around you, appreciate the normalcy which Congress party gave you also. It's not that we were completely perfect. We had here and there incidents, but not to this extent where you'll have to lose patience about what you say. You'll have to be conscious about what you're going to do with your neighbor who's of a different community, or you don't even think about who your neighbor were earlier. So this was a kind of a balance which the country had during the Congress regime, and we'll bring it back for sure.
So you are going to bring in a kind of Achhe Din which will just automatically seep into people. It will not be disruptive. It will not be it will not have a drama, but it will just automatically come to people. That's what you
I will stay away from the word Achhe Din, because Achhe Din has become almost like a very destructive word for the people of India, because nothing has come with that. It is really kind of brought a lot of pain to the people. We will restore normalcy to this country, and we will bring peace and smile to the people's face, as we think that's our primary responsibility as an elected government, and to kind of handle the situations for the people of this country.
Wonderful. On that note, thanks very much, Mathew, for joining, and hope to see you going from strength to strength in all the things that you can bring good to people, all the positive changes you can bring, and more strength to you. Hope to talk again sometime.
Thank you, Jaya. God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks.